Hello everyone, I am Arvind. I'm a principal engineer in Western Digital Research. Today's topic that I'm going to talk about is enabling MySQL on zoned namespaces SSDs. And today's agenda is I'm going to talk a little bit about conventional SSDs and introduction to zone namespaces. I'm not going to do a deep dive into zone namespaces. I'm just going to touch upon briefly upon zone namespaces. MySQL storage engine model, introduction to ZenFS, MyROC's stack on ZNS SSDs, the benchmarks that we have done, ecosystem enablement that we are currently doing, and Q&A. So conventional SSDs are fundamentally different from hard disks. Hard disks can overwrite a sector or a block, but SSDs cannot overwrite an existing or a written block. And they have to do an extra operation called erase operation to be able to rewrite to the same sector block within an SSD. And SSDs have different size granularities for writes, reads, and erase blocks. Media of SSD is grouped in a set of erase blocks, and once written to it, it has to be um, erased to be written again. So basically, no overwrites. Uh, this leads the SSD to SSD firmware to handle a overwrite request from host by writing it to a totally new block and updating the indexes to point to the new block and reclaim the old block at a later point of time by doing a garbage collection. So the host will just send an overwrite request and it gets a response saying that it has been overwritten, but it actually has gone into a different location and not the location that the data was there earlier. So if an erase block is already having some valid blocks, it cannot be erased, obviously. So those blocks have to be returned to new blocks and then it has to be erased. So this causes something called drive write amplification. And as the drive fills up, this garbage collection tends to take more time. It has to move a lot more data to make free space so that it can write in the new overwrite request or new data write requests into the SSD. So SSD vendors overcome this by doing over provisioning of the media. And this over provision capacity is not available to the user and is managed or used by the SSD internally. SSDs have set P cycles, the program erase cycles, based on the type of NAND that they have internally. And too much write amplification causes too much P cycles. And once it crosses a certain threshold, then the life of the SSDs reduces once it reaches its maximum P cycles. So these are the challenges of SSD, writing into an SSD. But since initially when SSDs came out, everybody was working with hard disk drives. All software was written keeping hard disk drives in mind. Kernel, right from kernel to the applications, everything was written based on HDD, keeping HDDs in mind. So the SSDs had to adjust to this environment and say that be compliant with this framework. So the SSDs implemented this FTL where they would manage all these overrides by writing into new locations, but not letting the host know that all these things are being handled within the SSD. So this kind of increases the drive write amplification and is not, the SSDs are forced to behave like a HDD even though internally they are not like HDD. So now, so that is the issue. Now coming into zoned namespaces. NVMe zoned namespaces command set specification defines a new interface which host can communicate to SSDs. The media within the SSD, the NAND within the SSD is exposed as a set of zones, and these zones can be returned to sequentially only. However, reads can be randoms in the ZNS SSD. So what it's saying is you have to write sequentially only to the host. Now the host is aware that it has to write sequentially only. And each zone has a state machine, and during its operation, it transitions between these states. And a zone again is a set of erase or is a set of erase block basically, and you can reset a zone to delete all the contents of that zone. So now the hosts can place data onto the zones directly without needing the FTL on the SSD. So since we don't need to maintain the this illusion of random writes or overrides, we don't need to maintain the illusion of override. So we don't need the FTL. So the host can directly do a write onto the zones. And benefits of ZNS: higher capacity because of zero over provisioning. Like I said, we don't need to do, or we don't need to create this overwrite support overrides. So we don't need to have this over provisioned NAND for this one. So all the media is available to the user within the SSD. Predictable latency, as there is no SSD level garbage collection. So what happens is, when garbage collection is running in within the SSD, it is reading from certain blocks and it is writing into certain blocks and it is resetting certain blocks, and all these activities are happening in the background, which the host or the application is unaware of. And when and they suffer because of these internal activities. The latencies and the bandwidth of the host becomes unpredictable over a period of time, when typically when the SSDs are like reaching their capacity, filling up basically. And also better throughput, because you don't have these kind of activities happening, you get a better throughput. And higher endurance of SSD, since lower drive write amplification is happening. The drive is not doing any kind of GC. Your PE cycles are not being utilized, and that kind of gives higher endurance of the SSD, meaning a longer life. And lower DRAM footprint, reducing the SSD cost. So why lower DRAM footprint? Now, for a 4 terabyte SSD, for 4 terabyte SSD, we need at least 4 GB. We need 4 GB of DRAM to maintain the FTL. But in ZNS, since we don't need the FTL, we don't have to have that much of DRAM. So that reduces the cost of the SSD. So now the challenges. Since it does not support overrides, ZNS, it is not plug and play. You just cannot put a ZNS drive into a system and expect it to work. The software stack needs modification to the entire host software stack to support ZNS SSDs, and it is a little bit write friendly workloads. It is better suited for write friendly workloads. Yeah. So now coming to MySQL storage engine model. MySQL is an open source RDBMS system. MySQL supports pluggable model of a storage engine. These storage engines are responsible for reading, writing data onto persistent storage. The pluggable storage engine architecture also provides a standard set of management and support services that are common among all underlying storage engines. So basically, the MySQL talks to the storage engine, and the storage engine talks to the storage, creating a abstraction layer to MySQL, which can talk, which enables MySQL to talk to different types of storage media for different use cases. Now, the types of storage engines. InnoDB is the default storage engine that MySQL uses. It internally uses B-tree data structures, which is kind of more read-friendly. The second storage engine is the RocksDB storage engine. So Facebook integrated MySQL with RocksDB as a storage engine, and this is called MyRocks. And RocksDB uses LSM trees data structure, and this is typically write-friendly. There are other storage engines which MySQL supports, like MyASM, Memory, CSV, and Archive. But we are going to look into mainly RocksDB storage engine here. So now I'm going to introduce ZenFS. So ZenFS is an open source software developed and maintained by Hans Homburg from Western Digital Corporation. ZenFS is currently supported with RocksDB. So it plugs into RocksDB file system interface on the front end and places data onto the zones of a zone block device in the back end. So ZenFS is a specially tailor-made software which fits into RocksDB plugin model, where RocksDB sends data to ZenFS, and ZenFS manages the data and sends it into a ZNS device or a zone block device. RocksDB provides something called as write lifetime hints for the files that it sends down to the storage. And what this means is it basically indicates the temperature of the file. If that's more easy to understand that. All hot files or cold data, hot data, something like that. The lifetime hints can be used to bifurcate or organize data based on its lifetime, how much lifetime this data is going to last. And ZenFS writes these files into zones by co-locating files with similar write lifetime hints into same zones. So basically all the hot files which are having lower lifetime probably goes into one zone, so that when all those files are deleted, the zone can be reset. And all the files which are having a higher lifetime hint, which are having a higher lifetime, go into some other zones, and those zones will not be reset because this is something like a cold data which sits for a longer time on those zones. Then ZenFS ensures that there is no background garbage collection in the file system or on the disk, and this improves performance in terms of throughput, tail latencies, disk, and the SSD endurance. Um, ZenFS actually stores data in terms of something called as a zone file, and each zone file is a set of extents basically. And zone files can be placed across one or more zones, but individual extents do not span across zone. An extent will reside within one zone, and multiple of these extents make it one zone file. So when all zone files in a zones are invalidated, the zone is reset by ZenFS, reclaiming the capacity of the zone. And the ZenFS places files into zones based on write lifetime hint, like we discussed earlier. With ZenFS and ZNS SSD, only RocksDB is the one who is doing the garbage collection at RocksDB level, and there is no garbage collection being done by either ZenFS or within the ZNS SSD. Some zones in a device are marked as meta zones, and the file system ZenFS metadata basically is stored in these zones. Metadata is also written in a log format into these zones, and whenever a zone fills up, it kind of rolls over into a new meta zone when the zone fills up. So that's like the brief of how ZenFS works internally. And so this is the myROC software stack for ZNS SSDs. We have the ZNS spec compliant SSD and the NVMe driver in the kernel, and ZenFS, and on top of ZenFS is RocksDB, and MySQL talks to RocksDB. And this is our benchmark setup basically. So we used Sysbench to run some benchmarks. And the first one is Sysbench with MySQL on InnoDB storage engine with XFS file system on a WDC conventional SSD. The second one is Sysbench running on MySQL with RocksDB storage engine running on XFS file system on a WDC SSD. And another one is Sysbench running on MySQL with RocksDB storage engine, which is using ZenFS environment and running on a ZNS SSD. So this is the workloads that we ran. We ran read-only workload, write-only workload, and read-write workload. So what we want to look at here is the blue one is the InnoDB, the orange is the RocksDB on a conventional SSD, and the green one is RocksDB with ZenFS on a ZNS SSD. So we can see the transactions are 90% better compared to RocksDB on XFS, and in a read-only transactions. But since InnoDB is read-friendly, we can see that InnoDB is slightly better than RocksDB, either of the RocksDB performances. When we look at write-only workload, we can see that RocksDB is much better than InnoDB, which is expected. But when we compare RocksDB running on a conventional SSD versus RocksDB running on a ZenFS on a ZNS SSD, we can see that we have a 40% improvement in the transactions per second. And again, with the read-write workload also, the ZenFS um, uh, shows 60% better transactions per second. When we look at even the transaction latencies, we have marked here average latency and the 95th percentile latency for each of the workload. The read-only workload, write-only, and read-write, we have the average and 95th percentile. And in each of these cases, we see that mm, the RocksDB ZNS latencies are much better than RocksDB than the other cases. And this is insert and update workload. Here also, we see that there is 15% better performance with insert workload and 9% better performance on a update workload. These are the Sysbench workloads that are available on Sysbench. Likewise, with the transaction latencies, we have better latencies with ZNS drives. We ran Sysbench initially on the drive. We filled up the drive up to 95%, and then we ran the workload, warmed up the database, and then we ran all of these workloads to get these numbers, basically. Now we're going to talk about MySQL ecosystem enablement. So what we have done to enable this stack to work? We have sent patches to MySQL to support RocksDB with ZenFS. So we have sent a patch which basically enables MyRocks to instantiate a RocksDB with ZNS SSD and instantiate a ZenFS file system. So we have sent a patch for that one. And we have sent patches to RocksDB to add ZenFS as a plugin. So RocksDB has this pluggable model where a lot of software can be plugged in as a plugin to RocksDB to do a lot of things. So we have created ZenFS as a plugin to RocksDB. So we have developed open source and maintaining ZenFS. It's again open source software developed by Hans from WDC. Patches are upstreamed to Linux kernel to support ZNS SSDs, and these patches are available from kernel 5.9 plus. So these are the ecosystem enablement or stack which is needed to run these run MySQL on top of ZNS SSDs. And these are the references. And thank you for your time.